This is Dan of Vagabond Awake.
𝗔କହିଛନ୍ତି from Hobo Venture.
And today we'd like to share with you, after visiting over 100 cities and writing retired chief reports about each one of them, what are the neighborhoods that we like in these cities, not the cities, but neighborhoods that are the most charming, walkable neighborhoods for retiring overseas.
Yeah, you have to tell them that we've been traveling together for 6 years to correct all these reports.
Yes, and these are not places we've read about. These are feet on the ground places we've spent time in. We've walked the sidewalks in these areas, and that's why we know which ones we think are the most charming. But we don't agree.
No.
We only agree about 7 of them.
It's really hard to make the choice,
It is.
because it has so many places, so beautiful, and it's very hard to make it to the top 30 either, and we have to push it down to top 10.
Yeah.
Oh, it's quite hard.
Yeah, and so 7 we agree on, and 6 we're going to call honorable mentions, where one of us may really like the place, but we don't want to call it, one of the most charming walkable cities yet.
Yeah.
But to give you an idea, this is in a bunch of different countries. We're talking about Mexico, Philippines, Thailand, Guatemala, Indonesia, Peru, Vietnam, Colombia, Portugal, and Malaysia.
Yes.
And so let's get started. One of the places that surprised me the most, it was in Mexico City. There's a neighborhood called La Condesa and Roma Norte, which kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, they are close to be each other.
Yeah, they're right next door to each other, and you can just walk from La Condesa to Roma Norte. In fact, on my Mexico City retired chief report, I have a Google map with the exact place you should walk to see what I think are the most charming parts of these 2 neighborhoods. You're talking about older neighborhoods with big mansions and parks and wide sidewalks and just like coffee shops and restaurants and bars.
Delicious taco.
Oh, food, yeah, of course.
Local foods.
Amazing.
Local food over there. You're walking around and find all the food.
Yeah, and beautiful parks with green grass and trees and people walking their dogs, riding their bikes, kind of like little wonderland areas of Mexico City. And and then they have museums. I just thought Mexico City would, since there was one of the largest cities in the world, I just thought it would be this blighted, smoggy, gross place. But boy, was I wrong. It's just charming walkable area in Mexico City.
I love to watch the architecture of the building because they still maintain.
Yeah.
Just lovely neighborhood.
Yeah, and then there's parts that look like it remind me of New York City. These beautiful apartment buildings with just gorgeous landscaping and funky little streets. And you'll turn a corner and there'll be like an art studio, and people are drinking wine and eating cheese and admiring local artists and stuff. It really is a charming place. So thumbs up to Mexico City.
True.
So next one we both agreed upon was Baguio City in the Philippines.
Yeah, it's cooling and it's charming because with all the tree, and also it's a university town, so they make the town is very colorful, and they also still maintain the old building on that area.
Yeah,
that's very nice.
And they block off one of the main streets in town, this 4-block area, and all the artists come out. No cars or motorcycles can drive on it. They come out with these chalk, like artist chalk, and they draw these characters like cartoons on the black asphalt, and people even dress up in these anime characters. And then they have this huge park with a big lake in the middle of it, and they have these little paddle boats you can paddle around on, or you can run around this park. Same thing, people walking their dogs, having birthday parties and all in these parks.
Yeah, and also I like that because Baguio is a high-level evolution place, so the air is more clean and it's cold in the morning and the evening time. It's nice to have a walk around the city, and it's beautiful around when you walk.
Yeah, it really is beautiful. You have the big trees and all, like you expect in a charming city. And it's also, as Chung said, it's high elevation, so it's cooler. And that also means that surrounding the city for really probably 50, 100 miles in all directions are these beautiful rolling hills with farmland on it, where they're growing fresh fruits and vegetables. And so the markets have the delicious local foods in it, and there's great restaurants there, and then live music and dancing.
That's why we were saying that this is a charming, walkable neighborhood that we would like to be stay there for a long term.
Yeah.
For retirement, this neighborhood is nice. So all these places that we choose have to be charming and walkable. Walkable to the public market, the grocery store, the what else? The
coffee shops, bars, restaurants, parks,
and bank and everything.
Malls.
Walkable.
Yeah. And also they just have that extra feeling of like, I don't know, that the city cares, like the city founders or the leaders care about it, you know, like they're taking care of the streets and the sidewalks and all that. And so that's what all these places are.
Yes.
Yeah, so next up is Antigua in Guatemala.
That is my favorite one.
Your
one
favorite
of my
one?
favorites.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's so beautiful because what I categorize as charming is I would like to see they have still maintained the old architecture and the new architecture is still together over there. So in Antigua, the road is a cobblestone.
Yeah, cobblestone streets.
And they have an old church, you know, the oldest markets, you know. It's feel like you are in a different side of the world, you know, because as I grew up in Malaysia and my country is more modern, you know, because it's new, it's new country, so it's the building is more modern. So when I in the Antigua, it feel like I step back to the old time, and it's so lovely over there. They have a restaurant, they have a local food, they have bar, you know, they have grocery store. They have bank. It's all walkable in Antigua area. Yeah,
and it's the actual center of the town. Antigua was sort of the center, the Spanish ruling center during the colonial era. So a lot of money was spent there making these gorgeous colonial era mansions with open areas in the center, you know, the traditional way. And the cathedral there's you know, hundreds and hundreds of years old, dates back to Spanish times, and just like art studios and they have these ceremonies happening all the time.
Oh yeah, the ceremony is a part of the charming place, you know, during the, I can't remember, on April.
Was it Christmas time? When was it?
No, it's on April. I can't remember the celebration for that. So they have put the colorful like a colorful thing on the ground, you know.
So they block off the streets in the center of town where the park is, the colonial era center of town, and people make these. They look like felt rugs, but they're little flowered petals or whatever of different colors. It's like it's just these artistic things in the middle of the street, and everyone walks around and photographs them. And it's just such an amazing place, Antigua is.
Yeah, and they locals still wearing the traditional clothes. They have a traditional festival. You will see everyone, you know, hanging out together, dancing, you know.
And it's their clothes. It's not like they're doing it like a Renaissance fair. They're still wearing the clothes that they've been wearing for hundreds of years. Not everyone, but you know, definitely the older people but it seems like it's a good 20 or 30% of the population there of the locals are wearing these clothes that date back a long time. So it's quite charming. And they have both local and a lot of international foods, and they have expats retiring there from all over the world because it's so charming. And it's out on its own little kind of it's a good hour or so, would you say, from Guatemala City. So, and it's very well policed, so it has this charming, safe feel about it. So we really loved it. We had a great time there. Next up is Ubud in Bali, Indonesia.
Wow, that is surrounded by the green. I love greens, you know. I like the fresh air, the more positive vibe, you know, from the green tree.
Yeah, so Ubud's up in the mountains. It's not super high elevation, but it's basically has a jungle feel to it, and you have the terrace rice fields surrounding the city, and a lot of the streets in the middle of it are they don't allow cars, so they're just walking streets, and they have restaurants on both sides of the streets, or coffee shops, or little art galleries, or restaurants and bars, and so you just walk around it, and you're not worried about all the noise and the annoyance of having cars right next to you all the time. And then it has like the monkeys in the park nearby, and it has all the parks and stuff. And then of course Indonesian architecture is just amazing. They have temples everywhere, and the people are so peaceful.
Oh yeah.
And the food is just delicious. You know, it's both local and foreign foods there. The local food, of course, is much cheaper.
Now you talk about food, huh?
Yeah. We're talking like $2 for a really delicious meal.
Very delicious. It's a local food, but they're presenting it, the place, the restaurant is clean. It's really, it's more than that kind of price, $2 in Malaysia.
Right. And if you're willing to live in one of the local kind of little, what was it? Is it called a cabin? What was it where we were
Cottage.
Staying? Like the cottage we were in was only 300. And this cottage is just like tradition in Bali, Indonesian, with a river going by and plants all around you. And it was just a very charming place. So we really loved 𝗂𝗏.
Yeah, you need to go on the ground to find the affordable, cheap apartment to live.
Yeah.
Because everything you find online is nothing.
Yeah, online's just way too expensive. And a lot of people like to be down by the beach, and that's going to be more expensive too. Mm-hmm. And to me, I'd rather be in a more Balinese feeling city, which is what 𝗂𝗏 is. So, yes. But then you're only a half hour, 30 minutes to 40 minutes from the beach, depending which beach you want and that sort of thing. So, next up, what about Hoi An in Vietnam?
Very yellow, bright color in the neighborhoods, that city.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's a UNESCO place.
Yeah, it's a UNESCO heritage site. So Hoi An used to be one of the biggest harbors in Vietnam, and because all of the China plates, Chinaware went through that area, and so, but when the bay suited up and you can no longer bring a boat in there, it kind of went dead for a couple hundred years. And now they're just restoring it, and now it's just this amazing, just restored older city. All the buildings are older there, but there's just great little waterways through there where you can go around on little boats, and these beautiful Chinese temples. And the food, and there's a lot of greenery around you. It's just such a beautiful place Hoi An is, you know.
Yes.
So that's another great place. Next up, Georgetown,
Malaysia.
Georgetown, Malaysia, yeah. So Georgetown was the center of the colonial, in Penang. It was a colonial era city. It has the city center there with the park and everything and all the beautiful government.
And the architecture also is a very old architect. It's UNESCO town.
Yeah.
So you will see all this beautiful architecture, and also a lot of the different kind of the food for you to choose to taste. Is have Malay food, Chinese food, Indian food, and also some of like international food as well.
And Georgetown, Penang was one of the first places where people started drawing beautiful art on walls, like in alleyways or on the front of buildings. And so there's all these art walks you can go on where there's just gorgeous graffiti. Some of it's based on older stuff, some of it's more political, but it's a fascinating place to go. And I would say that one of the most interesting things to do in Malaysia, which certainly Georgetown is that way, is finding what we call a mama's meal for like $1 or $1.50, and there's just a bunch of them all over there. Just excellent food in Georgetown.
Yeah, I would say that walking in the Georgetown also is walking back to the colonial time, not the colonial time, sorry. It's walking back to the old time as well. You know, you can feel the architecture, the door is still remain the same for the 100 years, you know.
Yeah.
So it's quite real in Malaysia.
It's one of those towns where the city has said, no, you can't tear that building down and put up a high-rise. You have to stay with the flavor of the city in order to keep your taxes low or whatever. And boy, they've really done a good job of it. It's a very charming place to walk around and hang out. So, and they even have a great night. There's a place called China House there, which has great multiple different kinds of foods and jazz at night. And it's a lovely place to visit. And
also
great Chinese temples.
You can go to the Love Land to have some happy hour beer. The happy hour is under 10 o'clock. It's about like $1.50 for a beer, you know.
Yeah. And every time you go back, the city gets more and more interesting, but it's always maintaining its character, which is really nice. Last of the ones we agree on is Porto, Portugal.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. It's a very old city. Many of the buildings. So some of the streets are pre-vehicle, just for horse and carriage. So they're skinnier, and so you're walking between these really tall buildings that have been there for 100, sometimes 200, 300 years, and they're made of stone or whatever. And it's just a beautiful European feeling to it, and it's kind of a little bit hilly. And it's just every corner you take, every turn you take, beautiful parks and trees and
also the river area of the they have a bridge, you can walk to another side, it's walkable town. So
and Porto, of course, is famous for Porto wine, which is like a sweet after dinner wine, and so they have many of the Porto cellars there. You can go and sample their wines for reasonable, and the beautiful bridge there, and just amazing views as you walk along the waterfront.
Yeah.
And so it's a very charming place.
Very, very. I love the architecture. So my category of charming, walkable neighborhood is I love old architecture.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I found that as a charming for me.
Yeah.
Or something they still keep like from the old time until right now. So I can see how the city transfer from the old time to right now, the new time. So this is my way to categorize the old charming neighborhood.
Yeah, and almost all of these cities really respect their heritage, and they've maintained it. And I think that's why they've become some of the most interesting walkable cities in the world for that reason.
And also if you want to know how is the cost of living on this city, these places, it's all in the report. So you go to the vagabondbuddha.com and you can have all this report.
Yeah, a bunch of information, restaurants, things to do, all that.
Yes.
Next up, we want to talk about honorable mentions. These are places that Chung thought, but I was like, almost makes the list. So, or I thought, and she said, almost makes the list. So, number one I had was San Miguel de Allende in Mexico. This is one of the most charming cities in Mexico. It's a bit small. It's a bit Americanized, and it's a bit expensive compared to other parts of Mexico, and so I could see why Chung, it's not really, it doesn't feel as Mexican as we would like, but it's
small for my taste,
and it's a bit small. But wow, what a gorgeous cathedral there, city center, and all of the like the weddings and all that stuff that happen in a Mexican city center with the tall figures dancing around and great food, and very charming place. And it also has been kept very nice according to how buildings were hundreds of years ago. So Chung, do you want to talk about one of yours?
Okay, my one of them is Cusco in Peru.
Yeah,
I love Cusco because it's very old and it's like Antigua. It's also have local, they still wearing the traditional clothes, and the building, it's have many years, more than 100 years.
1,000-year-old. Yeah.
And they still celebrate the winter solstice or summer solstice on June. They have a big celebration for like few days, like 5 days or 6 days. Every day they have a dancing from all over around the Peru city. They will come and join this big festival.
Yeah.
So I love the feeling. And walking around on the Cusco area is uphill and downhill. It's a very different feeling. You are feeling that you are in the Inca era, right?
Yeah, and all the Inca, you're just surrounded by these temples that are thousands of years old.
Yeah.
And you're not that far from Machu Picchu, and so it's a very old, very charming, very well maintained. And yet it's a very livable place. They have restaurants there and bars and a fun nightlife, and so I could see why.
It would be a bit cold in the winter time.
That's why it's not on my list. I'm just, it can get cold at night there, boy, in the winter, especially at night. So next one for me is in Portugal. It's a place called Sintra. If you've ever been to Disneyland or Disney World and you've seen the fake castles there, that's what they got their ideas from. Sintra is a place in Portugal where I think there might be 8 or 10 castles there that are just
and so beautiful.
Just hundreds of years old, just various variations of them, and you just walk around the city and you see these gorgeous real castles that are hundreds of years old. and it, fun little restaurants and things to do. Not simple little nightlife, but it's kind of a small city.
Very small
A
city.
little bit expensive.
Yeah.
A nice place to visit, I would say,
And
but one of the most charming places in the world, and
Yeah.
very walkable.
And also that's I remember we was there and we renting the Airbnb. We rented only room, and the house that we stay have more than 100 years old. The big frame is more than 100 years old already. The Airbnb owner stayed us over there.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful when you sleep on those 100 years old bed film. Don't jump
Yeah.
too
But
much.
go stay at that house. In fact, all the places we stay were in our reports, but that was a very charming place.
Very
It
charming.
was near everything.
Oh, the Airbnb host is
They were
so
so
lovely
sweet.
also.
Yeah.
So lovely. And I love that you can drink the water also right from the mountain out. They have a place that people will go to Sintra, the local,
Yeah. Oh, right.
to fill up the water and bring home to drink. It's
Yeah.
a good luck or something.
Very beautiful.
Yeah.
You want to share one?
My next one is Cartagena from Colombia. I found it's charming. It's of the old town, the downtown area. It's so colorful, and they have a walkable side, and you can walk to another area, and they are more like a hippie area,
Yeah.
So it's lovely place.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't agree with that. Cartagena, to me, is one of the most amazing places in the Caribbean area. I mean, you're talking about a castle on the Caribbean, and it's a walled city, and with all these streets, with cobblestone streets and restaurants and nightlife, and people are just walking around enjoying themselves, horse-drawn carriages, people dancing to the whatever tango or salsa, and
Yeah.
little courtyards, little art studios, and restaurants that are serving traditional food and foreign food, and everyone there is just having such a good time. It's a very charming place.
But the cost of living to retire in Cartagena is not cheap.
No, it's
So
very...
all these places we're sharing to you is not budget to the cost of living. It's from low to high. So we only find you the most charming walkable neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's see. Cartagena is a great choice. Another one I really like is Querétaro. Querétaro is in Mexico. It's in the north. They call it the Silicon Valley of Mexico. It's where a lot of companies moved south into Mexico because the labor is a little cheaper. So you have a lot of engineers and stuff living there. So it has a fairly high per capita income. But what's interesting to me is the central part of the city that's been there all the way back to colonial towns. The center part where the Zocalo or the Central Park is with the cathedral and all that, and all the area around that, very walkable, cobblestone streets, restaurants, museums, and just such a charming place Querétaro is. And it's really, it takes you back in time with all those beautiful streets and the architecture, and so Querétaro is definitely up on that list for me.
I can't remember Querétaro that much, so that means that it's not really into my mind,
So those are our favorite walkable, charming neighborhoods around the world that we've discovered over the last 6 years. And if you're interested in finding out what our top 15 places to retire cheap in the entire world for 2023, just go over here, click on that, and watch those.
So please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, comment, and like.
There you go.
I will see you in the next video.
Bye-bye. This is Dan of Vagabond Buddha. We have hundreds of reports of the best places to retire cheap in paradise. You can click any one of these countries and you'll see many reports in each country. And then we have all these planning reports that teaches you how to plan overseas retirement. I got an email from one of my subscribers that said, there's so many ebooks, I don't know which one to read first. So I put together a course for you here, the Retire Overseas course. Come on over and play this syllabus for the course. You'll learn what the course is about. Get our free ebook here. And so you're on our email list, How I Fired My Boss and Traveled the World for 14 plus years. Just come over here, put in your email.